Hello, this is David Wales, and this is my sprint report for sprint number 1 for game 377. So this week I believe I accomplished everything that was needed. So the first thing I did was I changed the collision system to the new revised version. So I have all the collision pair processor and the single processor and the processor base. So basically it just does most of the stuff of what the collidable manager did previously. So it just creates the instances of the collision group, and then down here is where it actually tests for the collision test, which was in the collidable group before, I believe. And this is for the collision pair. So if there's two different objects versus the single processor, which only does the one collision test. So I changed that, so I got rid of the function pointer in the collidable group, and then I have in my game object this week I also added a bunch of new functions with the relative position and relative rotation, and I did that because I added a new feature called attachable. So all it does is, like in my level .cpp, I have this where I define my ship and I define my camera, and just as an example, I attached the camera to the ship. So when I run it, I can move around and the camera will move just where the ship, or just how the ship moves. So I can shoot, and I can also do some rotations, but at the moment it's just it rotates in place. It just essentially copies everything that the ship does. So at this point I don't have an orbit of sorts, but it does copy, so the moving around works. And then the next thing I did was I added the different collision volumes. So in my collidable, I had the same general thing where it was just the test collision pair with two collidable parameters, and then in this case I called the object 1's collision strategy and tested collision pair. Now all that did was that would call the collision volume, because my collision strategy was a collision volume. So the collision volume would then, it's a pure virtual, and it would test collision pair for the collision volume. But this week, I believe you had said that we weren't required to have it go all the way to the B-sphere test collision pair, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. So at this moment, it just goes to the collision volume parameters, but it goes all the way down to there. So then in my asteroid, to set the collision volume, I just call set collision volume and then a new B-sphere, and then pass it in the center, the radius, and the world parameters, and that sets up the bounding sphere, and that's how it calculates the collision for this object, asteroid. And I did the same thing for all my others. So that's the general layout of what I did this week. As far as what I plan to do in the future, I'm really interested in doing the physics, like kinematics later, I suppose. So this last week I've pretty much been trying to read up on all my notes from my AP physics from back in high school. So not too much code-wise, but I'm trying to get more familiar with all the physics calculations and everything again. So that's pretty much it for this week. So thank you, and adios.